classes are for coupling state and functionality. So you've got some data over here, you've got some actions you'd like to perform on that data. You want to bundle those two concepts together. That's what a class is for in Python. So we've got a class definition here. We define a class by using the class keyword. That's how we start a class definition. Kind of the same way you define a function by using the def keyword. Once we've defined a class, we've got this class. The thing that we can do with it is we can call it. When you call a class, a little bit different from a function. When you call a function, you pass in arguments, you get the return value of the function. You call a class, you pass in arguments, you get an object whose type is that class. So the words type in Python and the word class kind of interchangeable. The type of something is its class. Also, weird terminology in the Python class world. Here's 3 different ways to say the same thing. When you call the product class, you are instantiating a new product instance. Also, when you call the product class, you are constructing a new product object. And when you call the product class, you are making a product. So a product instance, a product object, and just a product all mean the same thing. That is an object whose type, whose class is product. Okay, once you've made an instance of a class that is an object whose type is that class, there are 2 main things that you can do with that object. You can get the data that's stored within it, and you can perform actions on it. So we've got a product object here that we are pointing to with this duck variable. So this duck variable points to a product instance or a product object. We can access the data that's stored on this product instance through attributes. An attribute works by taking the product object, putting a dot, and putting the name of that attribute. You can think of an attribute as kind of like a variable name that lives specifically on one object, specifically on a product instance in this case. And these attributes would be different for different product instances. So if we had a stuffed unicorn product, it's going to have different attributes on it. Now, that's accessing the data that's on a class. Using actions that are on that class or performing actions on a class, that's through methods. A method is basically a function that lives on that class and specifically operates on instances of that class. So this profit margin method, we can use it on a product instance by taking that product instance, saying dot profit margin. So it kind of looks like an attribute at this point, except we've got to put parentheses after it to call this profit margin method. And we get 4 because this profit margin method is accessing data on this class, taking those 2 bits of data and subtracting them. So methods tend to access data on a class instance. They also sometimes change data on a class instance. All right, so classes in Python, they're taking data, they're taking functionality, they're coupling those 2 things together. You can access the data on a class instance through its attributes. Also, when you call a class, that's the thing you get back is an instance. So once you've got that instance, you can get the data through attributes. If you want to perform actions on that class instance, that is by calling methods on that class instance. Also, the words class instance, an object whose type is a particular class, and sometimes just short words like product, they're all synonymous in Python, which is a little bit confusing.